My name is Stephen Dummett. I'm with Tradewinds Leadership. We do workforce development and leadership training, specifically in the trades. I have been in the business of workforce development and leadership training for over 5 years. I began in the construction industry as a boots on the ground, bags on, working in the field, worked my way up to running a company, a subcontracting electrical outfit. And from there, I moved into the leadership space of construction, seeing what help was needed, what communication skills were lacking out there in the field. A lot of the challenges I faced in the transition from working in the field of construction and the building of buildings, let's say, to the consulting side of things was, how do I get the clientele that knew me from job A to the consulting side of job B? And how do I get their buy-in that this is a space that I'm educated? The process to make that change from in the field to the consulting side was a little bit of a struggle. I was a little bit lost as to, can I reach out to these same clients that knew me as a contractor that I'm now trying to be a consultant for them? I was also given a little bit of help along the way, and I was brought into a company as a independent contractor for doing leadership in construction because of my knowledge of leadership and my education there, but mostly because of my background in construction that I brought to that consultant side, that leadership side. On the other side, as I'm operating as that independent consultant, it was really difficult to change the opinion of people that I once knew. And how do I go about meeting new people when my pool of reference is all contractors, general contractors, superintendents, and people that are in the trades? So really figuring out how to position myself as a subject matter expert in consulting and leadership side when I was already known for being an expert in the electrical contracting side was a bit of a challenge. I tried a lot of different options to tackle that hurdle along the way. One of the first ones was just to lean in as heavy as I can into my mentors and influences. First thing I did was get a professional development coach that really helped me hone my craft as a facilitator, as a consultant itself, and see really where my space was, that I belonged there. The other thing that I did was a lot of reading and researching. Any influences from authors that I was really drawn to, Simon Sinek, Brene Brown, Jocko Willink, just to name a few, I would devour anything that they had written, any podcast they were on, any presentation, any YouTube video I could, essentially putting myself through an academy or a schooling, if you will, to try to gain as much knowledge and become an expert in the field through self-education, self-training. I came across Melissa is that Tradewinds Leadership is a partnership between myself and my other half, Olivia Lee. And she was doing a lot of research on just the internet. And we were trying to find a way to get a more solid business model. I was operating in the space of luck, we'll call it. People that I happened to meet in conversation, friends of friends that I would meet at a dinner party, someone that might have remembered me from the old construction life that knows that I'm doing this now. It was very haphazard, very happenstance. And what we were looking for and what Olivia found is we needed a business coach in the consulting space. There was definitely a few elements in working with Melissa that came as a surprise. I knew that I needed to focus on my trajectory and my approach, my funnel, and coming across her podcasts and then her website and reading reviews from other clients that she's worked with was super helpful. And one of the biggest things that stood out is a pre-assessment that she has in beginning work with a new client to identify obstacles. And as a coach and as a facilitator, I speak on mindset quite a bit. And I wasn't planning on seeing that I had my own beliefs that were blocking me about how I could approach business or how I could gain new clients. So that mindset work of challenging what beliefs I had and where I got them and were they still serving me was a whole different side that I wasn't planning on diving into. I thought it was much more, here's how you build the business, here's the roadblocks, here's the stepping stones that I wasn't educated in. When really the biggest roadblock that she made apparent to me were my own beliefs and my own mindset around what a consulting company could be. a lot has happened as a result of working with Melissa, and a lot of positivity has happened as a result from working with Melissa. I had this approach that I needed to cast the biggest net possible before working with Melissa. And when people started talking about, and Melissa started talking about, let's get more specific about who are you wanting to talk to? Who are you wanting to work with? Who are you wanting to help? I thought construction was a specific answer. And the more and more we worked together, the more I realized construction is just a wide a net as any other industry that I could have named. And what became more and more apparent is the more general you are, the more you think you're casting a wider net, the more options you have as a consultant, when really that's working against you. It's not in your favor. The more specific you are, the more you're answering a specific problem for somebody. And that is what people are looking for. So as I got more and more specific in working in construction, let's go a layer deeper, was working in specifically the trades, a layer deeper. Let's work on effective communication for the people in the field, because I saw a problem there from my own experience, to a layer deeper. What is happening with the mental health conversations in construction? Now we're getting pretty specific. Now with that as the backbone behind me, I now know exactly who I want to talk to. If I were to recommend Melissa to somebody, which I gladly would 10 times over, it would be to that person that really knows that they want to branch off on their own, that the way they've been doing things isn't working. They're ready to try something new. Maybe they're in an industry already, but part of a company, and they want to branch off and do things on their own because they have their own vision. Melissa will definitely help guide you there and how to make it successful. And a lot of things that people face, and what I faced, is I'm going to branch off into this new venture, this new industry, this new way of consulting. And initially you get a client or two. All right, I landed that one. Things are good. I'm moving. But you blink, and before you know it, 6 months go by and you finish that contract. And though it was executed to perfection and everyone was happy, what's next? And if you're asking yourself, what's next? That's, I think, where Melissa comes in.